Scientists in Spaces. This is a video that's a little bit different to what I normally would do on the channel, and to be quite honest, I was a little hesitant to put this actually on the channel. Now before I start, I just want to let people know that I don't promote piracy. I don't believe that it's good for the industry. I do believe in purchasing the original content, and if given the option, I will always purchase a physical copy over either a digital download or worse still, an illegal downloaded copy. Now that I've got that out of the way, the main reason why I'm putting this video on YouTube is mainly as a historical reference to show that this is something that used to happen, and this is a product that used to be, used to exist. I'm talking about a disc interceptor. It's called a disc interceptor. It was released for the Mega Drive in 1991 by a Taiwanese company. Little is very known about its originations and how it came about. But it's called the Mega Disc Interceptor, I should say, the Mega Disc Interceptor. And you can see it there running in the background. It is operating now, and I'm playing Darwin 4081, I think it was called, which was an awesome shoot 'em up for the Mega Drive. Now, if it wasn't for this system, I don't think I would ever have gotten to play this game except till now in 2017 via ROMs and emulations later down the track. So back in the day, I was able to access games like this, which we couldn't get in Australia, and also to import this game into the country would have cost double the amount that it was actually worth for a local release. So that out of the way, I thought I'd just have a look at the system itself and give you guys a little bit of a rundown on how it actually works. So you can see it just sits on top there. It's this big bulky thing that sits on there. I might just turn it off and show you guys. There it is. So that's the Interceptor, Mega Disc Interceptor. And what you can see at the top here is the battery backup cartridge. I thought I'd lost this. I only just found it like a minute before recording this. It was actually in my Mega Drive box. So, well, it's got a loose bit in it. Anyway, so when you play a game that requires battery backup, that's what you use to get that to run. Now, the reason why it's got a cartridge slot wasn't just for that. You could actually put cartridges in this thing and then transfer them to disk. And that's basically how you duplicated the games. Now, I happen to have quite a few of these games. In fact, there's one shoebox full of discs that run on it, and also another shoebox which is falling apart, and that's all Mega Drive games. And there's another one I think that I've got in the garage somewhere. Now, the other thing about this device is that it also runs on a Super Nintendo. How the hell does that work, you think? I mean, how can you even get it on the Super Nintendo? Well, they thought of everything. This is the Super Adapter. The word Nintendo never gets mentioned. There's a picture of one there though. And basically, this device sits underneath, and then the Mega Disc goes on top, and then you can run Super Nintendo games through it. Now, the sad thing is, and a lot of people don't realize this, the Mega Drive games were actually, for the most part, a lot smaller than the Super Nintendo games. And the reason being is that when the Mega Drive first came out, a 2 meg, 4 meg, 6 meg or 8 meg game was quite normal for the time. But by the time the Super Nintendo came out, it was starting to, they were starting to push for bigger games to get more content in those titles. So a lot of the Super Nintendo games couldn't fit on this system. Now this was limited to 8 meg. Now I don't know if you realize or understand how small that is. Half of the Super Nintendo titles or the library are actually 8 megs or more. So, or 12 megs or more, I think. So a lot of the titles that you would want to run on it will not actually work for this thing. So it was a little bit limited is what I'm trying to say. instead of me gas bagging much more, let's just fire it up. So I've got it there on here. Now, given the age of these things, a lot of the discs aren't working anymore. It's quite sad. I've got so many rare titles in there, including one which I'm going to show you, which is a bit of an exclusive. It's actually an EEPROM or a beta version of a game, and I'll put that on in a moment, but first I'm just going to demonstrate. Okay, so I'm going to load up the system now to show you guys how it runs. It's pretty straightforward. All you do, turn it on with the system on top. Hopefully it should load up. Yes, okay. Asks you to insert a disc, and I will run Arrow Flash, which is a really cool shoot 'em up. Again, probably a game that was not easily available. I think it did get a local release, but not in huge numbers, so it would have been hard to track down. So I'm just going to load that on up. There you go, you got your loading screen. That looks to be about a 4 meg title. Okay, so as you can see, once it's finished loading up, it just goes straight into the game. Now you can take that disc out of there, won't affect it. The game is actually in the memory, and it runs it as if it's just a normal Mega Drive game. In fact, I'll just show you it running. Sound is the same. It's just as if it was a cartridge in there and running normally. Pretty cool game. By the way, this is the first time I've used the arcade power stick in years. Okay, also there was a system disc. Now this would allow you to put a cartridge on the top and then give you extra options to make a duplicate of that game or copy over save points from the battery backup. They call it the Interceptor specify card. I don't know. Right, so you can see there it gives you some options to save file, load file, erase the file. This is all referring to the battery backup, or just play a game. I don't know what it will play. Anyway, so that's the system. It's a really cool system to own back in the day. Dodgy as all heck, I will admit, but I just thought it was pretty important to get this on the channel to let you guys know what was going on at the time back in the early 90s with the Mega Drive scene. This is something that was happening at the same time, and it helped with getting import games. Now these discs are just 3.5-inch floppy disks, nothing special about them, except they were really hard to copy because you had to do it through this system. But I found out that you could actually copy them through an Amiga using a program called Copy X, I think it was called, and that blew the door right open on getting games circulating amongst your friends. I knew about 2 or 3 other guys that actually owned one of these at the time, so yeah, it was pretty fun at the time to try and see what games you could get your hands on. Right, so sadly, after many attempts to try and get this thing to work, the Super Nintendo adapter for this device will not function. This thing was always temperamental. That's not a good look. We might just leave that before it wrecks something. Yes, everything's back to the way it should be. So unfortunately I can't demonstrate this, but you can see it is an odd little piece that went with it, and it allowed to be able to copy up to 16 meg games if you had a compatible system, which I did not. I had an 8 meg one. You know what though, in 2017 all this is prehistoric by today's standards. It's just not worth pursuing. I could get these devices fixed, but by the time I go to the trouble of getting the hard drives fixed in it and updated and all the other nonsense, I may as well have just bought myself an EverDrive disc, cartridge sorry I should say, and I'm sure you can get one of those for the Super Nintendo as well. But the one cool thing about this system was that it allowed you to get access to games, like I said, that you just couldn't normally get in this country. Now I'm loading up one which I hope it loads, because I haven't tested any of these. Half of my discs didn't work, This was a game called Ringside Angels. It was a wrestling game, all female wrestlers, and you tell me if you've even heard of that game. Not many people have even seen it, never mind heard of it. Or the other way around, they haven't even heard of it, never mind seen it. This was a pretty cool game. Here we go. There. So you can see it's still running on the Mega Drive quite fine. It's just that the Mega Drive Mega Disc running on the Super Nintendo Adaptor. Whoa, babe. Yeah, it just didn't. It was too many moving parts, I think, and very temperamental. So in 2017, you may as well just get yourself an EverDrive. They're pretty easily available online. You can even do save points within the cartridge. There are different levels of versions you can get. It's probably best to just go all out and get the top range one, because even though it's more expensive, it's a system that you're definitely going to be using, so it's worthwhile getting. Well, that wraps up my look at the Mega Disc Interceptor for the Mega Drive, and I guess you guys can appreciate what a cool bit of kit this would have been to own back in the early 90s. Without this device, honestly, I would not have had the extensive knowledge of Mega Drive games that I do have today. A lot of these games simply would not have landed on my radar, and I really do appreciate the fact that I was able to find this machine back in the day. Now, a lot of these games weren't working when I went to try and start this video and get this to work. But funnily enough, as I kept using the machine here today, or some of the titles that weren't working before are now suddenly working. I don't know, I'm not going to question it. Let's just roll with it. So, one of the games that I've had in amongst this collection that I've got here is actually an incomplete or EEPROM or beta version of World of Illusion starring Mickey and Donald. That's going to be on my next video. So I'll have that loaded up, a bit of a let's play, and a look at an incomplete game, something that never wasn't quite right or ready for public release at that time. So I will be having that on the channel later. Also, if you haven't already done so, now's your time to click subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, because I've got some videos coming up on my trip to Japan. That's coming up in a week's time. One of those videos I hope will be a look inside the bedroom of a Japanese gamer. I'm trying not to make that sound creepy. Basically, I want to show you guys what a Japanese gamer, hardcore gamer in Japan would have in their collection. Now, I haven't been to this, it's my nephew, by the way. I haven't been to his room since 2006. I was simply blown away with how neat and organized and how cool his collection was. So hopefully that will be coming up on the channel. And I've got content coming up all the time on the channel. So please subscribe, leave a like, comment, and also if this is something that interests you, let me know in the comments below. Or if you just prefer to just emulate on a PC, fine. Comment, let me know in the section below, comment section below. Until then, my name has been Brian, and I've been gaming since Spaceys. Thanks, guys.